Hi everybody and welcome to a brand new week of TNT. Thank you very much for the very good numbers last week. We've pushed over 26,000 subscribers really in a year. I never thought in a million years that would have happened, but I really do appreciate the support. If you haven't subscribed so far, look, it doesn't hurt. And it does really do a lot to help me with the good old YouTube algorithm, because this is the world and the platform that we choose to use. So it would really help on that. Now, a lot of regional news, which we'll get to a bit later. But let's start with this domestic story. The Calcite English Facebook page reporting that at about 4 p.m. yesterday, a construction crane for a university auditorium in the Watana district, this is actually directly over the road from where I used to work in Bangkok. We used to go over to this university about 3 times a week. They used to have an excellent sort of lunchtime market for the students, and the public was well patronised, but it looks like this crane has crashed into this auditorium building that toppled on a 36-year-old electrical engineer, killing him and injuring 2 other male workers. Workers on the site witnessed the incident while checking the structural and electrical systems. The sling that secured the crane arm had broken, causing the crane arm to fall and strike the auditorium ceiling. The crane's tip reached the 2nd story, killing and injuring those who were working there. And you can see there the crane toppling onto the top of that auditorium building. Whilst we're there, let's check another update from the Calcite English Facebook page. This is a by-election in Rayong, noting that there was a Move Forward Party MP that was found to be ineligible after the election, so they had to hold a by-election. So would Move Forward Party win that by-election? Well, they did. Move Forward Party MP candidate for Rayong province, a gentleman called Pongsatorn, he won Sunday's by-election and he received 39,296 votes, as opposed to the nearest Democrat rival who got 26,466 votes. So if you want a quick litmus test as to how people still think about the Move Forward Party, it looks like there's still plenty of support for them, even though they'll now serve in opposition. Well, for the meantime anyway. Now, a follow-up to a story about some police corruption and some shootings last Friday. Bangkok Post reporting that 6 cops sacked over fatal shooting at a wealthy kamnan's dinner party. And 6 police officers have been dismissed from the police force over their alleged involvement in the shooting at a dinner party at the house of a kamnan, that's a tambon or a village chief, in Nakhon Pathom last Wednesday. In that incident, an officer at the Highway Police Station number 1 was killed and a deputy commander of the Highway Police was injured. And then they list 4 of the 6 officers that were sacked, and the other 2 sacked officers are an investigator and a traffic police officer in Nakhon Pathom. And the 6 officers are accused of destroying evidence of the crime and helping the suspected gunman and the kamnan Praween Chanklai to escape. The suspected gunman was later killed in an exchange of fire with police in Kanchanaburi, and the dismissal orders are effective from September the 9th. All of them are facing serious disciplinary investigation. And a corrections department official has also been sacked and is facing an investigation for alleged involvement in the shooting incident. That story reported by BangkokPost.com. Let's see if we can find out any further information with Thai PBS. Their story says arrest warrants issued for 6 police in connection with police shooting probe. Obviously a bit has happened after this story, but this last paragraph, and it refers to Surachat Hakpan, the Deputy National Police Chief, and he harshly reprimanded the 25 police officers who were at the house that evening, saying their conduct is totally unacceptable. Without the police's help, he said, Praween and the gunman would not have escaped from the house and some of the evidence would not have been destroyed. So the Deputy Police Chief, who is vying for the top job at the moment, are right on top of that story and quite outspoken about those policemen's behaviour. To our next story today, and a bit of a shift in tone from the TAT. They've now got a new governor. Let's see what they said, and this is reported by the PattayaNews.com. TAT shifts focus to promote Thailand as sustainable tourism destination. Just think about that for a moment. We do note that this is a press release from the Thai government PR department, so we thought we'd find that and declare it before we'd get started on the story. It says the TAT is shifting its focus towards promoting Thailand as a sustainable destination committed to environmental protection. And this is according to the new TAT governor, Thapani. And she's saying that Thailand seeks to become a high-value and sustainable tourism destination while addressing environmental challenges such as the wildfires in northern Thailand, which impacted tourism for extended periods. And this referring to those fires each year between roughly January and sort of December and May each year, causing very high PM 2.5 levels, usually well into the hazardous sort of zone, not only though in the hills around Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai, but also parts of northeastern Thailand and across the border, particularly in Cambodia, Laos and northern Myanmar. And those smokes drifting across the borders and causing a lot of problems for the people living up there. And it's really probably out of the TAT's sort of major role in promoting tourism, but I suppose at least their support is behind trying to do something to stem these horrible wildfires. And the TAT's strategy, known as Sustainably Now, aims to transform the tourism sector by embracing sustainable tourism goals. Aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the agency also introduced the Sustainable Tourism Acceleration Rating. This awards stars to operators improving their sustainable practices. The goal is to have at least 85% of participating tourism operators achieve 3 to 5 stars by 2025. Well, of course, it's all well and good to promote sustainable tourism and promote better environmental controls. I think we'd all welcome that, but I'm really not sure how many people are going to be looking at these stars to decide if they're going to be travelling to Thailand in the future. I would think most of us assume that professional businesses would have good environmental controls in the first place. Maybe not. Meaningful travel experiences have been identified as a top priority for foreign tourists visiting Thailand, as revealed by a recent survey. I'd certainly like to see that survey. Do you put meaningful travel experiences at the top of your list of things that you're seeking on a holiday? Maybe. And a pilot project in 5 provinces focuses on encouraging tourism businesses to offer environmentally friendly services. Well, of course, this is to be encouraged, but again, I'm pretty sure that there's an assumption that a lot of these businesses would already be promoting proper environmental practices with their business. So I'd ask you, is this important to you when you are looking to come to Thailand? Are you looking at good airfare prices, a nice place to stay at a good price, the places you'd like to stay, or are you looking at the star rating for the company's environmental practices? Be interested to know in your comments. Now, I know there's a funny watermark, there it is, and I don't exactly know what it is. I use an app to turn my iPhone into a camera, and this is what we're getting at the moment. Now, a few people who also use the same app have said they've sent a letter to the people who sell it to try and identify what it is. It doesn't seem to be doing anything to the picture other than adding a watermark. And yes, I have paid my bill, so I'm not exactly sure what that watermark is, but we're trying to find out. So sorry if it's distracting you. You are watching TNT. It's Monday, the 11th of September. And a big thanks to our sponsors, 5 Star Marine. They've got their charity bash on October the 7th, raising money for Living Waters Phuket. Also, there's a regular discount for TNT viewers. If you'd like to avail yourself of either of those, I'm heading out on the charity bash, so if you are coming, I look forward to seeing you there, raising money for a great cause. Links in the description. Also should acknowledge today's date, September the 11th, obviously a very significant date for many people, particularly in the US. We are talking about a regional story now. This is from bbc.com, and it all happened last Thursday night and Friday, but for some reason didn't really make its way into the world news until, well, mostly yesterday. bbc.com reporting Hong Kong and southern China battle widespread flooding from record rains. In Hong Kong and cities across southern China are battling flooding caused by the heaviest rain in over 140 years. And last Friday, streets and subway stations were underwater. Emergency services said more than 100 people had been taken to hospital, and pictures show the rain turning streets into raging rivers, flooding shopping centres and public transport. And social media showing people climbing onto their cars and other elevated platforms to escape the waters, which have risen several metres high in some areas. And the Hong Kong Observatory later that night, this is last Friday, reported an hourly rainfall of 158 millimetres, the highest since records began in 1884. That's over about 6 inches in the old lingo, so a lot of rain. The city's Cross Harbour Tunnel, a key route connecting the main island to the Kowloon Peninsula in its north, was inundated. The rain also triggered landslides in Hong Kong's mountainous areas. And here's some video featured on NBC News, obviously a collation of video they got from different social media, and showing record rainfall slamming Hong Kong, and some different video showing the problems people were having getting around. Some cars obviously they're being inundated, rescue workers on the job, but pretty much impossible to stem that huge amount of rain in such a short time. Reuters reporting that Hong Kong and Shenzhen deluged by heaviest rains on record. And Shenzhen, just to the north of Hong Kong, you can catch a train and cross the border into mainland China. It also suffering huge amounts of rainfall. And the extreme weather also brought chaos, says Reuters, to the nearby Chinese city of Shenzhen, a tech hub of more than 17 million people with business and transport links across the economically important Pearl River Delta, severely hit. And Connie Cheung, a 65-year-old assistant nurse, said, "I've never seen scenes like this before, even during previous typhoons. It was never this severe. It's quite terrifying." And the torrential rain was brought by Haikui, a typhoon that made landfall in the Chinese province of Fujian on Tuesday. Although it later weakened to a tropical depression, its slow-moving clouds have dumped huge volumes of precipitation on areas still soaked by rain from a super typhoon a week earlier. So this is the typhoon that actually came through southern Taiwan. It's made its way into southern China and perhaps causing even more destruction than the super typhoon that hit Hong Kong just a week earlier. We go to this map to try and get a bit oriented. We can see Hong Kong in the circle up the top there, and just to orient yourself, we've got Bangkok and Thailand down there, and we can see the monsoon in full force, dragging waters out of the Indian Ocean and, in the case of Hong Kong, the South China Sea. And that's where a lot of the moisture is coming from. And this is this morning again showing the monsoons in full force across Thailand and into southern China. And so it's this time of the year where you do get a lot of these very heavy rains. Let's move on to our next story from BangkokPost.com. Eye on security as visa waiver looms. So a lot of talk on this visa waiver for Chinese tourists, but nothing has been decided. But there is a cabinet meeting tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be making a recommendation from that. Apparently, a lot of people think it's going to be starting on the 1st of October. And the government's looking at ways to ensure tourists' security as it gears up to introduce a visa-free policy for Chinese visitors, a move which is claimed to be a potent short-term economic stimulus. And the Prime Minister Sita Thavisin yesterday met officials from various agencies at the Prime Minister's official residence to discuss preparations for the rollout of the visa-free policy. So nothing has been decided, but it certainly looks like all arrows are pointing at visa-free travel for Chinese visitors after October the 1st. And after the meeting, the Police General Surachat, who once served as the Deputy Chief at the Tourist Police Bureau, said the visa-free policy will help revitalise the tourism industry, which was hard hit by COVID-19 pandemic. So it looks like the Deputy Police Chief has already given the new visa-free policy his tick of approval. Some comments from the Prime Minister. He outlined the visa-free policy for Chinese visitors as a temporary measure, and it's expected to be in effect until the end of next year's high tourism season. I'm pretty sure that would include the Chinese New Year, which is usually around the start or the middle of February. Haven't checked the dates for next year, but yes, they're looking at starting on October the 1st and testing out this visa-free waiver all the way through till the end of the high season, including Chinese New Year next year. Nothing's been decided. We will probably hear about that after tomorrow's cabinet meeting. Now, US President Biden has been in the region over the weekend. He visited Vietnam, and some important pointers from that particular meeting. US, Vietnam are critical partners at a critical time, this according to the US President, and there he is at an official welcoming ceremony during his one-day visit to Hanoi. And President Joe Biden opened a brief visit to Vietnam yesterday by telling the country's leadership that the two nations have a chance to shape the Indo-Pacific for decades to come. And Vietnam is elevating relations with the US to the level of a comprehensive strategic partner, which a top Biden advisor said represents Vietnam's highest tier of international partnership. I wonder who else is on that top tier. We'll find out a bit later in this report. And Biden welcomed the move and said he hopes progress could be made on climate, the economy and other issues during his 24-hour visit to Hanoi. He said we can trace a 50-year arc of progress between our nations, from conflict to normalisation to this new elevated status. And he described the US and Vietnam as critical partners at what I would argue is a very critical time. Other countries sharing the same level of relations with Vietnam include China and Russia. Elevating the US to the same status suggests that Vietnam wants to hedge its friendship as US and European companies look for alternatives to Chinese factories. And ThaiPBSWorld.com also reporting the story, and it reports US and Vietnam set to expand ties as China worries grow. And this was reported back on Saturday before US President Biden arrived in Vietnam. It says Biden, who is flying from the G20 summit in New Delhi, will meet the leader of Vietnam's ruling Communist Party yesterday and is expected to sign off on a comprehensive strategic partnership. And further down it says, although it will be careful to be seen as not taking sides between the United States and China, Vietnam shares American concerns about its neighbours' growing assertiveness in the contested South China Sea. And the United States and Vietnam, a key manufacturing hub, also have increasingly close trade ties, and Washington sees Hanoi as an important partner as it looks to source less from China after supply chain shocks rocked the global economy in recent years. So I think that visit from the US President to Hanoi yesterday is showing a slight shift of emphasis in Vietnamese foreign policy. It may be that Thailand's also heading the same way. And ThaiPBSWorld.com asking the question, will new foreign policy tilt away from China towards the West? This, of course, talking about Thailand's new government and its foreign policy. And a Professor Eucharist from the Chulalongkorn University's Institute of Asian Studies makes some comments and predictions. He says the new direction of Thailand's foreign policy is quite the opposite of the previous government, which obviously leaned towards China. And Sita, he's the new Prime Minister, graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Massachusetts and a master's in business administration from the Claremont Graduate School in the US. The story goes on to say that the policy statement paper leaked to the public earlier said that disputes among superpowers in terms of economics and security are major challenges for Thailand to position itself as well as protect national interest, promote peace and enhance security for the Thai people. I'm very, very sure that Thailand will continue to play both sides. They'll remain friends with both China and the US as best they can, and that will pretty much reflect the policy of most other Southeast Asian countries into, well, at least the near future. Finishing off with some good news and a follow-up to that fire at the Pattaya Floating Market last week, and PattayaNews.com reports Pattaya Floating Market to reopen September the 12th, which is tomorrow. And the damage is about 30% of the market's total area. This is from a spokesperson for the Pattaya Floating Market, which mostly is in the northern zone, only one of our 4 zone attractions. The damage cost is being estimated at about 70 million baht. We do have insurance for the market, but not a significant amount, but are working on clarifying the payment structure. In other words, negotiating with the insurance company at the moment. And the story says the market is expected to be reopened on September the 12th this month. A little bit of tautology, although some areas may remain under repair and inaccessible. So some good news for the tour groups that enjoy going to the floating market. Looks like it's going to be reopened, and at some stage they'll rebuild that area that was totally destroyed by the fire. And wow, we saw some dramatic drone footage from a TikTok video on Saturday's program. Thanks very much for those people that joined in on Saturday's program. It was quite a bit of fun. Also, for those people that enjoyed yesterday's Grumpy Old Men, of course, we'll have another edition of that this Sunday. But for now, that's all for Thailand's update on all the major stories and a lot of regional news as well. We thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.